Welcome to Zoe Stories. Yesterday Vincent, today Vivian. Vincent had always been invisible even to himself. At 21 he lived in a small dim apartment above his uncle's bakery, a place that smelled perpetually of yeast, sugar, and cinnamon. The walls were pale yellow, chipped in places, the kind of paint that screamed ordinary. Ordinary, and that was exactly what Vincent was. Ordinary, quiet, overlooked. He shuffled through the day like a ghost, attending university lectures, working part-time at a bookstore, and returning home to nights filled with solitude. Conversations with classmates were minimal, always polite, always at arm's length. He longed for connection but feared the weight of rejection. Yet, behind his careful, quiet exterior, there was a part of him no one ever saw, not even his closest friend. Vincent often found himself staring at the women around him. Not with lust, not exactly, but with a kind of admiration, an aching envy for the effortless grace they carried. The way they walked, the sway of their hips, the way a simple smile could hold an entire room captive. At night, alone in his apartment, he sometimes tried to imagine himself differently. He would stand in front of his full-length mirror, tracing the contours of his own body with the tips of his fingers, imagining what it would feel like to have long hair brushing his shoulders, a soft dress clinging to his curves, delicate makeup highlighting eyes that had always gone unnoticed. He felt a thrill and a shiver of fear at the same time, quickly pushing the thoughts away. That world wasn't for him. It couldn't be. He was Vincent. Plain, ordinary Vincent. And then came her. Her name was Serafina. Or Sarah, as she insisted people call her. She was his cousin's roommate, visiting for the summer, and she walked into his life like a storm, confident, magnetic, with eyes that seemed to pierce through every carefully built wall Vincent had erected around himself. She wasn't just beautiful, she was intimidatingly beautiful. Every step, every gesture was precise, controlled, like she had rehearsed life to perfection. Vincent noticed her the moment she arrived, though he tried not to. He noticed the way she smiled at the bakery clerk, how she brushed her hair behind her ear while leaning casually against the counter, and the subtle, commanding way she made everyone pay attention when she entered a room. Vincent, by contrast, felt like air, easily inhaled, easily forgotten. It started innocently enough. She chatted with him occasionally, asking questions that were too personal to be casual. "Do you ever feel invisible?" Vincent stiffened, unsure if he should answer. "I mean it," she said, her voice soft but sharp like velvet hiding steel. "Some people, they're stuck in a shell they didn't even choose. But sometimes, you can break free." Vincent laughed nervously. "I don't know what you mean." But Sarah did. She smiled, the kind of smile that hinted at secrets, at knowledge she could pull from the air like silk from a spool. And in that moment, Vincent felt the flutter of something he couldn't name, curiosity, fear, and a magnetic pull he didn't have the strength to resist. Over the next few days her presence became unavoidable. She teased him subtly, brushing against his arm when passing, catching him staring and smirking knowingly, whispering comments that made his stomach twist and turn. She was aware of him in ways that made him uncomfortable but strangely alive. Then one evening everything changed. Vincent had returned from work, tired and drained, only to find Sarah waiting for him in his apartment. She didn't knock. He didn't hesitate. She simply stepped inside, her eyes locking onto his with a mixture of amusement and something darker, control. "I've been watching you, Vincent," she said, her voice low, almost hypnotic. "You hide behind that quiet little mask of yours. But I know there's more. I can see it, and I think I can help you find it." Vincent's heart pounded. I don't understand." Sarah moved closer, circling him slowly, like a predator assessing its prey. "You have a side of yourself you're too afraid to explore. And that's a shame. But don't worry. I can guide you. I can teach you." He swallowed hard. Something in her tone made it impossible to refuse, even though every rational thought screamed at him to run. "And what exactly do you want me to do?" he asked, his voice trembling. Her smile widened. Try being someone else. Someone you've always wanted to be. Just for a little while. Vincent's mind screamed. Someone else. Her words struck a chord deep inside him, the part he had tried so hard to bury. He thought of his mirror at home, the silent hours spent imagining, wondering, longing. The shame, the fear, and the impossible desire all collided in one sharp moment. I don't know if I can, he whispered. You can, she said, leaning close. And you will. Because once you start, once you see yourself, you'll never want to go back to being plain old Vincent again. For the first time in his life, Vincent felt his world tilt, as though the floor beneath him had disappeared. He was both terrified and exhilarated. The thought of surrendering control, of letting someone else lead him into a forbidden, secret world, was irresistible. Sarah's eyes held him, unblinking, commanding, almost intimate. Tomorrow, she said softly, you will become her. Not fully, not yet, but a taste. A beginning. Are you ready for that, Vincent? He hesitated. Every instinct screamed no. But then, deep in his chest, a tiny, secret part of him whispered yes. Yes, he breathed. Sarah smiled again, a mix of triumph and tenderness. Good. I'll see you tomorrow, my little experiment. Vincent's stomach turned with fear, excitement, and something else. Something unnamed that made his pulse hammer in ways it never had before. He would never be the same. And at that moment, as he stood frozen in the middle of his tiny apartment, he didn't know if he wanted to be. Vincent went to bed that night with restless thoughts swirling in his mind. He pictured the delicate curve of a dress, the shimmer of makeup, the thrill of being called beautiful. And somewhere deep inside he knew this was only the beginning, the moment before his life would shatter and reshape into something unrecognizable. Tomorrow Vincent would meet Sarah's plan. Tomorrow, he would step into a new identity. The morning sunlight streamed weakly through Vincent's blinds, casting slanted patterns across his cluttered room. He woke with a heavy sense of anticipation, the kind that makes the chest tighten and stomach churn. Last night's encounter with Sarah had replayed in his mind like a relentless film. Her piercing gaze, her knowing smile, the way she had called him, my little experiment. Vincent tried to convince himself it was absurd. He was an ordinary young man living an ordinary life. He didn't crave attention. He certainly didn't need anyone orchestrating some bizarre plan to make him, what? More visible? More feminine? He didn't even know what she wanted from him. Yet the thought of Sarah waiting for him downstairs, waiting to push him, teased at a hidden corner of his mind. That part of him, the part he'd never acknowledged, thrived on the idea of submission, control, and metamorphosis. By the time he reached the bakery, the smell of fresh bread and sugar could not calm his nerves. Sarah was already there, casually perched on the counter, her legs crossed, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. "Morning, Vincent," she said, her tone deceptively casual. "Ready for our little session?" Vincent's throat tightened. I don't even know what that means." Sarah leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. "You will. And it will be fun. But first we need a commitment. You have to understand, this isn't just play. You can't stop halfway. Once we start, you follow through. Do you understand?" Vincent swallowed. His fingers dug into the edge of the counter. I guess. But what exactly do you want me to do?" Her eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement and something darker. Control. "You're going to become someone else, Vincent. Someone beautiful. Someone people notice. But it's not just the outside. It's the inside too. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you think." He laughed nervously. "That sounds impossible." "Impossible," she repeated softly, leaning closer, letting her perfume envelop him, "is just a word for what people are too afraid to try. And you're not afraid, are you?" Vincent froze. Her gaze was like fire, melting away all pretense, leaving only raw vulnerability. He felt his pulse quicken, an ache deep in his chest that he didn't understand. Sarah's smirk deepened. "I can teach you. Step by step." But you must trust me. Are you willing to do that? Vincent hesitated. He thought of the hours he had spent imagining himself differently, the hidden fantasies he had buried beneath layers of shame. He thought of the mirror, the quiet whispers of longing, the thrill of imagining being noticed, admired, called beautiful. Yes, he whispered before he could stop himself. Her smile was a triumph, sharp and beautiful all at once. Good. Tomorrow we begin. But there's a condition. Vincent's stomach twisted. Condition. You have to surrender control. Completely. I will guide you, correct you, push you, and yes, sometimes embarrass you. But it's all part of the process. You must obey. No hesitation. He swallowed hard, the excitement and terror mingling in his veins. Okay. I can do that. Sarah's eyes softened just for a moment. You'll learn to enjoy it. Perhaps more than you should. She stood, gliding toward the door with an elegance that made Vincent's chest ache. Dress, walk, speak. Everything will change. But first you need preparation. I'll provide everything. Clothes, shoes, makeup, the works. Vincent nodded, unsure whether to tremble, laugh, or cry. I can't believe I'm doing this. That's the point, Sarah said, turning back to him with that sharp, knowing smirk. Transformation isn't comfortable, Vincent. But trust me, it will be unforgettable. The rest of the day was a blur. Vincent barely ate, barely spoke. His mind raced with fantasies, fears, and impossibilities. He kept picturing Sarah's instructions, imagining herself guiding his hands to apply eyeliner, teaching him to walk in heels, correcting the tilt of his shoulders. When evening arrived, Sarah appeared again, this time carrying a large box filled with delicate clothing, shoes, and accessories. Vincent's breath caught at the sight. Silk, lace, satin, colors he had only admired in magazines, textures that made his fingers itch to touch. Tonight, Sarah said softly, we start small. Yes. You will wear these. Only inside. No one else can see. Not yet. But I want honesty. You must tell me how it feels. Vincent's hands trembled as he lifted the first garment, a soft blush pink blouse. The fabric felt impossibly light, impossibly feminine. He hesitated, then slipped it over his head. His reflection in the mirror stopped him cold. The boy in the reflection was still there, pale, nervous, unsure. But beneath the surface, there was a hint of something else. A shimmer of possibility, a curve of femininity emerging despite himself. Sarah watched him, a mixture of triumph and tenderness in her eyes. See, you're already halfway there. And tomorrow we take the next step. Public. Vincent's stomach turned. Public. Yes, she said, almost whispering, circling behind him, her fingers brushing his shoulders, adjusting the blouse perfectly. You will walk outside. People will see you. And you will learn what it truly feels like to be beautiful and to obey. He turned to face her, panic and desire warring inside him. I don't know if I can. Sarah smiled, leaning close so that her lips were almost at his ear. Oh, Vincent. You don't know how much you want this. But tomorrow you'll find out. I promise. As she left the room, Vincent's reflection in the mirror stared back at him. The familiar face of the shy, ordinary boy was still there, but lurking beneath it was the faint outline of someone else. Someone fragile, delicate, and undeniably captivating. And for the first time, Vincent wasn't sure he wanted to be Vincent anymore. That night, Vincent lay awake, listening to the soft hum of the city outside. He imagined stepping outside as someone else, someone beautiful, someone forbidden. A thrill mixed with panic curled in his stomach. Tomorrow Sarah's plan would begin. And Vincent could feel deep in his chest that once it did, nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, Vincent woke with a sense of dread he could almost taste. His palms were clammy, his chest tight, and every nerve in his body buzzed with anticipation. Today he was no longer merely Vincent. Today he would take the first step into the world Sarah had promised. A world that terrified him and, inexplicably, thrilled him at the same time. Sarah was already in the living room when he arrived. She sat cross-legged on the sofa, a bundle of fabrics and delicate accessories laid out neatly before her like a palette for an artist. Her smile was predatory yet inviting, and Vincent felt a shiver run down his spine. "Good morning, my little experiment," she said softly. "Today you'll meet yourself in a way you never have before." He swallowed hard. I don't even know where to start." Sarah stood and circled him slowly, her eyes appraising. "You start with surrender," she said. "Take off your clothes and we begin." Vincent froze, panic lacing his every thought. But there was no hesitation in her gaze, no room to refuse. Slowly, trembling, he undressed, leaving his ordinary life in a heap of shirts and jeans on the floor. The mirror across the room reflected his bare form back to him. Unfamiliar, awkward, painfully ordinary. Sarah walked behind him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "It's okay to be nervous," she murmured. "But remember, this is your chance. Your first real step into her." Her hands guided him toward the box of clothes. Soft fabrics, delicate laces, skirts, blouses, and stockings lay before him. Vincent's fingers hovered, trembling, over a silky lavender dress. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "Start small," Sarah instructed, her voice calm but firm. "A blouse first. Feel the fabric against your skin. Notice how it moves." With shaking hands, Vincent lifted the blouse. The material slipped over his shoulders, caressing his skin in a way that made him gasp. His reflection in the mirror shifted with each movement, revealing a hint of someone unfamiliar. His heart pounded as he studied the reflection. Part Vincent, part something else. Sarah leaned close behind him, adjusting the blouse gently. "Look at yourself," she whispered. "Really look. Do you see her?" Vincent's eyes flickered nervously. "I think so. But it feels wrong. Strange." "Good," Sarah replied, almost smiling. "Strange is exactly what it should feel like. You're stepping out of your old self. That discomfort is the doorway." Next came the skirt. Vincent's legs trembled as he stepped into it, the fabric soft and foreign against his thighs. He caught his reflection mid-movement, and a strange, dizzying mix of shame and thrill washed over him. "You're beautiful," Sarah said suddenly, her voice low and almost intimate. "Don't fight it. Embrace it." Vincent's cheeks burned. "Beautiful? Him?" The word clashed violently with the image he had always held of himself. Shy, invisible, ordinary Vincent. Yet as he looked again, he caught a flicker of possibility. A hint that Sarah's words were not entirely false. "Next," Sarah continued, retrieving a small box. "Makeup. Light, just a touch. You need to see the change fully." Vincent hesitated, staring at the powder, the brushes, the tiny tubes of color. His hands shook as Sarah guided him through each step, blending foundation, highlighting cheekbones, carefully defining eyes and lips. Every brushstroke felt like a violation and a revelation all at once. The mirror reflected someone different, someone fragile, delicate, undeniably feminine. Vincent's heart raced and a lump rose in his throat. I look like a girl." Sarah's smile was sharp, triumphant. "Exactly. But you're not done yet. Hair." Long locks of a wig were placed over his head, brushing against his shoulders and framing his face. Vincent reached up, almost afraid to touch it, but Sarah's hands steadied his. "Feel it," she whispered. "This is the first moment you meet her fully." The transformation was surreal. Every detail, blouse, skirt, makeup, hair, coalesced into someone entirely new. Vincent looked at his reflection and felt his old self slip further away with every passing second. A strange thrill mixed with terror churned inside him. Sarah stepped back, circling him like a sculptor admiring her work. "Look at her. You are her. And soon everyone else will see her too." Vincent's lips trembled. I don't know if I can go out like this. You will, Sarah said firmly. Tomorrow we'll take her into the world. Public. People will see. And you'll learn what it truly means to be beautiful and exposed. His stomach turned at the thought, but a tiny forbidden part of him thrilled at the idea. The part of him that had longed for attention, for admiration, for recognition, even if it came in fear, shock, or humiliation, stirred awake. Sarah leaned close, her voice almost a caress. Tonight, look at her in the mirror. Study her. Learn her. And remember, the more you resist, the deeper she takes root. Vincent gazed into the mirror. The boy he had always been stared back, faint and fading. In his place, fragile, delicate, impossibly beautiful, was Vivian, a version of himself he had never dared imagine. And for the first time, Vincent didn't want to turn back. As he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, the reflection of Vivian burned in his mind. Tomorrow, Sarah promised, he would step outside. The world would see her. And Vincent couldn't tell if he wanted to run, or if he wanted to disappear completely into her. Next morning, Vincent woke to the pale light filtering through his blinds, his body stiff from restless sleep. His mind was already racing. Images of the previous night's transformation haunted him. The blouse, the skirt, the wig, the makeup. Vivian. She lingered in his reflection, impossibly delicate, impossibly real. A knock at the door startled him. It was Sarah, her presence commanding even through the simple act of knocking. Up already? She asked, her voice smooth, teasing. Good. Today we step outside. The world will meet her. Vincent froze. Panic surged through him like a tide. Outside? I don't know if I can. Sarah smiled, circling him as she did the first time, her eyes sharp and magnetic. Oh, but you can. And you will. Remember, fear is the first step toward beauty. You will feel exposed, yes, but that is exactly what makes this powerful. Her words wrapped around him like chains he couldn't resist. Vincent's pulse raced. He dressed quickly in the same delicate ensemble from last night. Lavender blouse, flowing skirt, stockings, and carefully chosen flats. The wig framed his face perfectly, and his makeup highlighted the soft lines of his features. When he glanced in the mirror, Vivian stared back. She wasn't just a reflection anymore. She was a presence. Every movement, every breath felt different, foreign, exhilarating. His stomach twisted in anticipation and dread. Good, Sarah said approvingly, standing behind him. Remember, walk slowly, keep your head high, and let people see her. Confidence is learned, and I will teach you. The bakery door opened, and the morning air was cool against his skin. People passed by, strangers murmuring polite greetings. Every glance felt like a spotlight, every whisper a judgment. Vincent's hands shook, but Sarah's steady grip on his arm grounded him. You see, she murmured. It's not so bad. People notice beauty every day. You just need to let it exist in you. They walked together through the streets, Sarah guiding him subtly, adjusting his posture, correcting his steps, whispering reminders about tone and elegance. Vincent's heart raced with every step. Some people smiled, some stared, some whispered. A strange thrill mingled with embarrassment in his chest. They passed a cafe, and a group of Vincent's classmates were sitting outside. One of them looked up, caught sight of Vivian, and did a double take. Recognition flickered in their eyes. Vincent froze, a cold sweat running down his spine. Ignore them, Sarah whispered, tightening her grip slightly. You're Vivian now. Let her take control. The humiliation burned, fierce and raw, but so did an unexpected pleasure. One classmate muttered, She's beautiful. Vincent's cheeks flushed crimson, but a small forbidden thrill bloomed in his chest. The word beautiful wrapped around him, sticky and intoxicating. By the time they returned home, Vincent's legs were exhausted, and his mind spun with conflicting emotions. He had survived the outing, but only barely. Sarah's smile was triumphant. See? You handled it perfectly. And tomorrow, we go further. More exposure. Public places. More people. More challenges. And you will learn what it truly means to embody her. Vincent's stomach churned. Every fiber of him screamed to retreat, but another part, curious, aching, eager, whispered that he could not. That he would not. As he looked at Vivian in the mirror later that evening, her reflection felt less like a mask and more like a living, breathing presence. A strange, disorienting feeling of duality settled in his chest. Vincent didn't just see her. He felt her. And the thought of returning to his old life felt impossible. Vincent collapsed onto his bed that night, his mind racing. Tomorrow, Sarah promised, the challenge would escalate. The mall. A public salon. Eyes on him, whispers in the air. And somewhere deep inside, a small, trembling part of him wondered, would he even want to go back to being Vincent? The next morning, Vincent awoke to the soft light spilling across his room, his heartbeat already racing. Today was different. Today was not just a test, not just a glimpse into a forbidden world. Today, Sarah promised, he would fully become Vivian, at least in appearance, at least in her eyes. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling as he stared at the box of clothes and makeup Sarah had left beside the mirror the night before. Silk, lace, delicate skirts, stockings, and shoes carefully arranged, almost ceremonial. Vincent's stomach twisted. Part of him wanted to run, to hide, to rip the clothing to shreds and pretend this was a dream. And yet, another part of him, a tiny secret part he had never admitted even to himself, longed to put it all on. To see himself fully transformed. To feel the thrill of becoming someone beautiful. The knock came before he could move. Sarah entered, serene and commanding, carrying a tray with brushes, powders, and small bottles of color. Her eyes swept over him, assessing, approving. "Good morning, my little experiment," she said softly, almost purring. "Today we take the first step into full transformation. Are you ready?" Vincent hesitated, swallowing hard. I think so." "Think?" she asked, raising a perfectly arched eyebrow. "Don't think. Obey. Let her guide you." Her words hit him like a whip. Obey. Let her guide him. That simple command sent a shiver down his spine. He nodded, heart hammering. Step 1, lingerie. Sarah handed him soft, delicate fabrics. Bras, panties, stockings. Vincent's face flushed crimson as she instructed him to change behind a curtain. He hesitated, fumbling with the unfamiliar garments, but Sarah's gentle yet firm guidance steadied his hands. "Look at yourself," she said softly as he adjusted the bra, the soft fabric pressing against him. "Feel her. She is already here." The mirror reflected a figure both familiar and alien. Vincent's chest tightened. Part of him was terrified, part of him thrilled. Part of him wanted to linger here forever. Next came clothing, delicate skirts, silk blouses, layers that seemed to sculpt him into someone new. Sarah's hands adjusted his posture, lifted his shoulders, tilted his chin just slightly. Each touch, each correction felt intimate, controlling, intoxicating. "Walk," she instructed. "Hear the shoes. Feel the sway. Let her move through you." Vincent's legs wobbled as he took the first tentative steps. The flats clicked softly on the floor. He felt exposed, fragile, undeniably feminine. Every glance at the mirror made his heart skip a beat. He was no longer Vincent entirely. He was Vivian, fragile and trembling, yet startlingly alive. Makeup was the final transformative step. Sarah guided his hands with a precision that made his pulse race. Foundation smoothed, eyes highlighted, lips tinted. Vincent felt the shift, the delicate curve of his features enhanced, the lines of his face softened. Every stroke made him feel more foreign, more beautiful, more trapped. When Sarah finally stepped back, Vincent stared at the reflection. Vivian stared back, wide-eyed, innocent, trembling. She was him and yet not him. A strange thrill mingled with terror in his chest. "You see," Sarah whispered, circling him. "This is her. This is the real you waiting to be discovered. And soon the world will see her too." Vincent's breath caught. I don't know if I can handle this outside." "You will," she said firmly. "Tomorrow the public. Mall, cafe, salon. People will see. And you'll learn exactly what it means to be her." He nodded weakly, body trembling, heart racing. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him couldn't wait. As he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, he felt her, the new self, curling inside him, ready to emerge. The thought was terrifying. The thought was exhilarating. And Vincent knew nothing would ever be the same again. Tomorrow the mall. Strangers. Stairs. Whispers. And the first real test of Vivian's existence outside the safe walls of his apartment. Vincent's heart pounded at the thought. Would he survive it, or surrender completely? The first few steps out the door felt like stepping onto a stage. Every sound was amplified. The click of Vivian's flats against the sidewalk, the soft rustle of her skirt, the whisper of the wind through the street. Vincent's chest tightened, a mixture of panic and exhilaration clawing at him. People passed by, oblivious to the storm raging inside him, and yet every glance felt like a spotlight. Sarah's hand rested lightly on his back, guiding him forward. Head high, she instructed. Shoulders back. Move like she would. Own it even if you're terrified. Vincent nodded, though his legs trembled. He tried to breathe normally, tried to walk with some semblance of confidence, but the unfamiliarity of his body betrayed him. Every step felt foreign, delicate, vulnerable. The world suddenly seemed impossibly large and he was painfully exposed. They passed a cafe where people sipped coffee and chatted. Vivian caught more than one pair of eyes, some curious, some admiring. Vincent's face burned. The thrill of being noticed, coupled with the raw humiliation of exposure, churned inside him. See, Sarah whispered, her voice smooth and teasing. The world notices her. And soon you'll understand why she exists. Vincent forced a smile, trying to mimic what he imagined a confident girl would do. But every misstep, every flicker of panic in his eyes, made him painfully aware of how unprepared he was. He stumbled slightly on the uneven sidewalk, and a stranger gave him a brief, curious look. Heat rushed to his cheeks. Sarah's grip tightened, steadying him almost possessively. Good. That's exactly the reaction she should evoke. Fear, curiosity, admiration. Let it all sink in. They moved further down the street into a small boutique. The bell above the door chimed, and Vincent felt every eye in the store turn toward him. He froze. Heart hammering, stomach twisting. The fear of judgment was almost unbearable. Sarah nudged him forward. Walk. Smile. She would. You are her now, remember? Vincent obeyed, though every movement felt like a betrayal of his old self. He tried on shoes, skirts, accessories, his hands trembling. Each glance in the boutique mirror forced him to confront Vivian's image. So fragile, so delicate, so undeniably real. And then it happened. A group of girls giggled nearby, whispering to one another. Vincent froze, heart hammering, until he realized they were complimenting him. She's beautiful, one of them murmured. A strange warmth spread through his chest, mingling with the flush of embarrassment. Beautiful. For the first time someone called him that, and the thrill of it was almost unbearable. Sarah leaned close, her voice a whisper against his ear. Do you feel it? That's power. That's recognition. That's her. And she's yours to become. Vincent's mind spun. Panic, shame, excitement, all tangled together. The line between Vincent and Vivian blurred further with every passing moment. Every compliment, every whisper, every look etched Vivian deeper into his consciousness, while Vincent's old self shrank further away. By the time they left the boutique, Vincent felt both exhausted and electrified. He had survived public exposure, felt the weight of eyes on him, and glimpsed the strange thrill of being admired as Vivian. And yet fear still lingered. Fear of discovery, fear of judgment, fear of surrendering too completely. Sarah's eyes glinted with satisfaction. Tomorrow, she said softly, we push even further. More people. Bigger spaces. And you'll discover what it truly means to live as her. Vincent's stomach churned. Could he survive that? Could he even want to? The answer deep down was beginning to terrify him. He might not want to go back. The city lights flickered as they walked home, and Vincent felt the fragile boundary between Vincent and Vivian crumble. Someone had called him beautiful today. Someone had seen her. And as he touched his reflection in a store window, He barely recognized the trembling, wide-eyed girl staring back. Tomorrow would be even worse. Or better. He didn't know which. The next challenge was subtle but merciless. Sarah had called it privilege removal, a phrase that made Vincent's stomach twist with unease. They weren't going to simply dress him up or send him into public. They were going to strip away his old identity piece by piece, leaving Vivian in full control. Vincent sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the reflection in the mirror. He was already used to seeing Vivian's face, but he still felt a strange tug of longing for Vincent, the old, invisible boy who had lived quietly unnoticed. Sarah entered, her presence commanding. "Today you stop being Vincent in every way that matters," she said. "No shortcuts, no hesitation. You obey or you fail." "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice tight. He smiled, sharp and controlled. "Simple. Walk, speak, think like her. Your past habits, your casual gestures, your male mannerisms, they disappear. You will be corrected. Constantly." The first test came immediately. Sarah guided him into the living room where she had set up a small camera. "Talk to me," she instructed. "Use her voice, her inflection, her cadence." Vincent hesitated. His voice trembled as he tried to modulate it, to lift the pitch, soften the tone. Every word felt foreign, alien. He stumbled and Sarah's eyes narrowed. "No," she said sharply. "Again. Imagine you are her. Vincent does not exist." He swallowed hard and started again. Each attempt chipped away at the old self, forcing him to inhabit Vivian fully. His mind screamed resistance, but a tiny, twisted thrill ran through him. He felt exposed, vulnerable, yet seen in ways Vincent never had been. Next came walking lessons. Sarah made him pace across the room repeatedly, adjusting hips, shoulders, posture, every subtle movement. "She walks differently," Sarah whispered. "Every step a message. Every sway deliberate. You will learn or you will fail." Vincent wobbled at first, the unfamiliar rhythm humiliating. But Sarah's corrections were relentless. Her hands steadied him, tilted his chin, pressed shoulders back. Humiliation and control tangled together, leaving a thrill he couldn't name. The final step of the day was outside, the mall. The sunlight hit Vivian as they stepped through the entrance, and every eye seemed to trace her delicate curves, every whisper a dagger of both shame and thrill. People stared longer than before. Strangers complimented her. A man paused mid-step to say, "Excuse me, you're stunning." Vincent's heart hammered. Shock, embarrassment, and a tiny, forbidden satisfaction flooded through him. He was Vivian, and the world saw her. Sarah leaned close. "Feel it," she whispered. "This is what it means to lose the old you. People no longer see Vincent. They see Vivian. And soon you will too." Vincent's chest tightened. He wanted to reject it, to cling to the old self. But every compliment, every glance, every whisper chipped away at Vincent's resistance. He realized that the humiliation, the exposure, the thrill, they were inseparable from the transformation. By the time they returned home, Vincent's legs ached and his mind spun. The familiar comforts of being Vincent had been stripped away. Every habit, every gesture, every thought that had marked him as a boy was slowly vanishing. Sarah smiled, triumphant. "Tomorrow we escalate. More exposure. A salon, strangers, scrutiny. And you'll understand, fully, what it means to live as her." Vincent nodded weakly, torn between fear and exhilaration. He touched his reflection in the mirror, tracing the soft curves of Vivian's face. She was no longer just a disguise. She was becoming real, inhabiting him, reshaping him. And the thought of going back to Vincent felt more impossible with every passing moment. That night, Vincent sat alone, staring at his reflection. Vincent was fading. Vivian was emerging. And somewhere deep inside, a tiny, frightened voice whispered, "What am I becoming?" The mirror had never felt so honest. Vincent, or rather Vivian, stood frozen, hands pressed lightly against the cool glass. The reflection was breathtaking, delicate, impossibly feminine. But it wasn't just beauty that stared back. It was a question. A challenge. A mirror demanding the truth he wasn't ready to admit. Who was he now? Sarah's voice came from behind, soft but firm. "Look at her," she whispered. "Really see her. Every detail. Every line. Every movement." Vivian's eyes flicked nervously, tracing the soft curve of her jaw, the delicate arch of brows, the shimmer of lips glossed perfectly. Her chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. She felt exposed, naked, not from clothing but from identity itself. I don't know if this is me," she murmured, voice higher, lighter than Vincent's ever had been. Sarah circled her like a predator admiring prey. "It is. It always was. You just didn't see it." Her hand grazed Vivian's shoulder, steadying, claiming. "Vincent is gone. She's here. And she deserves to exist." Vivian shook her head, stepping back. "No. Vincent, he's still here. I can feel him. I don't want to disappear." "That's the point," Sarah said almost tenderly. "Disappearance is temporary. Transformation is permanent. And every time you resist, every time you cling to the old self, it makes her stronger." Tears welled in Vivian's eyes. The reflection felt both alien and intimate. The soft blush of cheeks, the delicate line of lips, the arch of shoulders. It was beautiful, yes. And terrifying. She was beautiful. But it wasn't Vincent. She wasn't sure if she wanted to be. Sarah leaned close, brushing a finger under Vivian's chin, tilting her face toward the mirror. "Look again. She is not just a reflection. She is a presence. She moves. She breathes. She exists. And she will be seen." Vivian's hands trembled. She touched her own reflection, fingertips ghosting over smooth skin. A strangled sob escaped. Half of her wanted to run, to rip the wig off, scrub the makeup away, scream for the world to forget this. The other half, the part Sarah had awakened, the part Vincent had buried long ago, shivered at the forbidden thrill of being noticed, of being beautiful, of being her. "You feel the divide, don't you?" Sarah whispered. "The old self and the new. That tension is exactly where the transformation lives. Embrace it. Accept it. Or you will break trying." Vivian stared at the mirror, at the impossible fusion of past and present. Vincent was fading, but he wasn't gone. Every smile, every blush, every tremble reminded her of the boy she once was. And yet, she didn't want to go back. Not entirely. Sarah's hand gripped her wrist, grounding her. "Tomorrow we take her outside fully. Mall, cafe, salon, every eye on her. And you will see what it truly means to be visible, to be feminine, to be noticed." Vivian's heart raced. Fear, shame, thrill, and anticipation tangled into a storm inside her. She touched her reflection again. The girl staring back, so delicate, so fragile, so undeniably alive, was herself now. And the question lingered, unspoken and terrifying. Could she ever be Vincent again? The lights of the room dimmed, but Vivian could not stop staring. The reflection seemed to pulse, almost alive, daring her to step fully into the world. Sarah had promised exposure. Tomorrow the city would see her. And somewhere deep inside, a trembling part of her wondered if she even wanted to return to the life she had lost. The salon smelled of perfume, hairspray, and faint anxiety. Vivian felt every nerve in her body tingle as Sarah led her through the glass doors. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting not just the salon's interior but every eye in the room, every glance, every judgment. "This is her first time fully outside," Sarah whispered, her hand firm on Vivian's back. "Remember, posture, voice, elegance. You are her. And everyone will see it." Vivian's stomach twisted. People turned their heads as they entered, curious whispers slicing through the background hum. She felt exposed, stripped bare in a way far more intense than the boutique. Every step made her aware of her delicate skirt, the soft sway of her hips, the meticulous perfection of her hair and makeup. A stylist approached, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning Vivian critically. "You're sitting in my chair today," she said. "We'll start with a cut, maybe a style. Let's see what we can do." Vivian froze. Her voice trembled. I don't know if I. Sarah's hand tightened on her wrist, almost possessive. "You will. You are here. You are her. Say yes and sit." Obedient, trembling, Vivian sank into the chair. The stylist's hands brushed against her hair. Every touch felt electric, intimate, terrifying. Her heart pounded, cheeks flushed, and she forced herself to smile. He was a girl now. He had to act like one. Other customers glanced curiously, some whispering compliments, some barely disguising their stares. Vivian's body tensed with embarrassment and a small, forbidden thrill. Each word of praise, each glance, chipped further away at Vincent's old identity, solidifying Vivian in its place. Sarah crouched beside her chair, whispering, "Relax. Enjoy it. Let her emerge. Feel the power in attention, in observation. This is what it means to be noticed." Vivian's lips trembled as she nodded. Part of her wanted to scream, to run, to rip the wig from her head. But another part, fragile, curious, excited, lingered in the thrill of being seen, of being beautiful, of being feminine. She felt her reflection in the mirror, watching back, wide-eyed and alive, confirming her transformation. A young man at another station glanced over and muttered, almost under his breath, "Wow, she's gorgeous." Heat surged through Vivian's chest. Embarrassment and excitement collided violently. Someone had called her beautiful, again, and she couldn't deny the small, intoxicating pleasure that bloomed inside her. Sarah's hand rested on her shoulder, grounding her. "Do you feel it? That's recognition. That's her. And she is yours to inhabit fully." The stylist began combing her hair, brushing it gently through soft waves. Each stroke, each adjustment, made Vivian aware of her new body, her new presence. Sarah whispered corrections, small touches that demanded perfection, subtly reminding her that she had no choice but to embody Vivian entirely. The mirror reflected someone caught between worlds. Vincent flickered faintly in her eyes, but Vivian's image dominated. The boy was fading. The girl was alive. And the salon, with every glance and whisper, confirmed it. By the time they left, Vivian's legs shook, her cheeks burned, her heart raced. Public scrutiny, whispers, the thrill of attention. It was overwhelming and yet intoxicating. She realized she was changing, piece by piece, into someone else entirely. Sarah's voice was calm but sharp, cutting through the residual tension. "Tomorrow we push further. You will walk into spaces where strangers judge, comment, stare. And you will learn what it means to be fully her, no shields, no escapes." Vivian's chest tightened. Fear, thrill, humiliation, and desire churned inside her. She touched her reflection in the car window as they drove home. The girl staring back was fragile, beautiful, exposed, and undeniably real. That night, Vivian lay awake, heart hammering. The whispers, the stares, the soft compliments, she felt them burn inside. Tomorrow the world would see more. And she realized, with a shiver she couldn't name, that Vincent was slipping further away, and maybe she didn't want him back. Vivian had never felt so exposed, so alive, and so confused all at once. They were walking through a small plaza, sunlight bouncing off the glass storefronts, when it happened. A young man, tall, casually handsome, with an easy smile, noticed her. His eyes lingered a fraction longer than necessary, a subtle spark of curiosity and admiration in his gaze. Vivian froze. Her chest tightened, cheeks burning, and a fluttering sensation spread through her stomach. This was new, terrifying, and strangely intoxicating. For a moment, Vincent flickered in her mind, scared, awkward, wishing he could disappear. But Vivian pushed forward, spine straightened under Sarah's guiding hand. The young man stepped closer, offering a shy, "Hi. I don't usually say this, but you're really beautiful." Heat surged through Vivian. Embarrassment collided with a thrill she couldn't name. She swallowed hard, voice trembling. Thank you. Sarah's eyes gleamed with triumph. Do you feel that? She whispered softly. The power of being seen. The thrill of admiration. That's her world now. And it's intoxicating, isn't it? Vivian's legs wobbled. She tried to respond naturally, to laugh lightly, to smile without betraying the storm inside. Her reflection in a shop window confirmed it. Vincent was fading, and Vivian dominated every line of her posture, every flicker of her eyes. The young man continued to talk, casual, easy, unaware of the inner chaos he had sparked. Each word, each glance, chipped further at the old self. Vincent would have stumbled, mumbled, looked away. Vivian met his gaze, fragile yet alive, and a small, forbidden thrill danced in her chest. Sarah's hand rested lightly on her back. Notice the sensation, she murmured. It's validation, recognition, power. You are no longer invisible. You are visible. And soon you will crave it. Vivian's heartbeat thundered. Shame mingled with pleasure, humiliation with excitement. Every step, every smile, every small interaction with the young man pushed her further along the line between Vincent and Vivian. She realized with a shiver that she had never felt this alive before, and that terrified her. They parted after a few minutes, the young man giving a small, lingering look before disappearing into the crowd. Vivian's cheeks burned long after he left. She felt exposed, delicate, fragile, and undeniable. Sarah smiled, sharp and triumphant. Tomorrow, she said, voice low, almost intimate, we escalate. More attention. Bigger challenges. The world will stare and she will command it. Vivian nodded weakly, body trembling. Every glance she had received, every whisper, every compliment had cemented her transformation further. Vincent was fading. Vivian was emerging. And the thrill, the fear, the shame, they were inseparable. That night, Vivian stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her lips, soft and glossy, curved slightly in thought. Her cheeks burned from attention, her heart raced, and her mind screamed with conflicting emotions. Vincent was gone. Or was he? And somewhere deep inside, a quiet, trembling voice whispered, "Do I even want to go back?" Vivian's confidence had grown, but so had the tension coiling inside her. Every step outside reminded her how far Vincent had slipped and how fully she was becoming Vivian. They entered a crowded cafe, sunlight streaming through the windows, reflecting off mirrors and glass surfaces. Vivian felt every eye on her, every whisper brushing against her like wind. She tried to focus, to move gracefully, to speak softly, just as Sarah had trained her, but a sudden sharp pang of recognition froze her in place. From across the room a familiar voice called out, "Vincent." Vivian's stomach dropped. She turned slowly. A classmate, someone from high school, someone who had known him as Vincent, stood staring, mouth slightly open, eyes wide with disbelief. Panic surged. Heat flared across her cheeks. The whispering world around her seemed to explode in slow motion. Sarah's hand gripped her arm lightly, steadying her, reminding her silently that she had no escape. "Hi," Vivian whispered, voice trembling. Her reflection in the cafe window mocked her, wide-eyed, fragile, beautiful. Vincent flickered faintly, terrified, awkward, but he was no longer in control. The classmate's eyes widened further. Recognition dawned, confusion mixing with fascination. "Wait, is that really you?" Humiliation crashed over Vivian like a tidal wave. She wanted to disappear, to strip away the skirt, the wig, the makeup, to scream that this was a joke. But she couldn't. The girl in the mirror, Vivian, was alive. She moved, she breathed, she existed. And Sarah's hand, firm and guiding, reminded her that retreat was impossible. The classmate leaned closer, curiosity and intrigue burning in his gaze. "I can't believe it. Look, amazing. Beautiful." Heat flooded Vivian's chest, mingling with shame, fear, and a forbidden thrill. Someone from Vincent's past, someone who knew him intimately, was seeing her now, Vivian, and affirming her beauty. The power of that realization made her pulse race, and yet it shredded her insides with guilt. Sarah's voice cut softly through the tension. "Do you feel it?" she murmured. "This is what it means to be her. Recognition, admiration, exposure. You're no longer Vincent. You are seen. And it is intoxicating, isn't it?" Vivian's knees trembled. She nodded weakly, though part of her wanted to run, to erase the transformation, to claw back the boy she once was. But another part, the part Sarah had awakened, the part Vincent had buried long ago, thrilled at the attention, the recognition, the undeniable proof that Vivian existed. By the time they left the cafe, Vivian's heart pounded, her cheeks burned, and her mind reeled. Vincent was fading further, and Vivian's presence dominated every line of her posture, every flicker of her expression. The world had acknowledged her. The girl in the mirror was real. Sarah's grip on her hand was possessive, almost triumphant. "Tomorrow," she said, "we go even further. The public world will see her fully, and there will be no retreat. You will learn the power and the danger of being fully seen." Vivian's chest tightened. She touched her reflection in the car window. She was fragile, beautiful, exposed, and undeniably alive. And deep inside she realized that the fear, the thrill, and the shame were inseparable from the transformation. That night, Vivian stared at her reflection long into the dark. Recognition, attention, humiliation, thrill, they were all burned into her chest. Vincent was slipping further. Vivian was emerging. And the question that haunted her in whispers grew louder. Could she ever go back? Would she even want to? Vivian hadn't expected it. Not now, not like this, not so soon. They were walking through the park, sunlight dancing across the leaves, when a group of young people gathered near a fountain. One boy, slightly older, with kind eyes and an easy smile, noticed her. His gaze lingered longer than polite, curiosity and something softer flickering across his expression. Vivian felt her chest tighten. Her heart raced. She wanted to retreat, to hide behind Sarah, to disappear entirely. And yet she felt drawn to the attention, a strange thrill threading through her veins. The boy stepped closer. "Hi. I'm Ethan," he said casually, though his eyes sparkled with intrigue. You're new here, right?" Vivian's voice trembled as she responded. "Why, Vivian." The name felt foreign on her lips, but it rolled softly, delicately, fitting her reflection perfectly. Ethan smiled, warm and inviting. "Well, you're really pretty. Wow. I didn't expect to meet someone like you today." Heat surged through Vivian's cheeks, mingling with embarrassment, exhilaration, and a thrill she couldn't name. Someone real, someone tangible, was noticing her, seeing her. And she wanted it. Terrifyingly, she wanted it. Sarah stood slightly behind her, a subtle presence, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, soft and intimate. "The power of being admired, of being noticed? That's her world now. That's what it means to be Vivian." Vivian nodded, though her body shook. She wanted to protest, to retreat to Vincent, to claim some semblance of her old identity. But the feeling, the warmth in her chest, the small thrill that Ethan's attention sparked, was undeniable. Ethan laughed lightly, and for a moment, Vivian forgot the control, the humiliation, the relentless training. She felt a flicker of joy, of connection. A tiny spark of something new, something thrilling. She realized with a shiver that she could enjoy being seen, being called beautiful, being desired. Sarah's hand brushed her arm lightly, guiding, reminding. "Remember," she murmured, "this isn't just about beauty. This is control. This is transformation. You will feel desire, admiration, and even love, but all under her guidance." Vivian's stomach twisted. Part of her thrilled at the attention, at the warmth, at the budding connection with Ethan. Another part recoiled, terrified of surrendering too completely, of losing Vincent forever. They spent the afternoon talking, laughing lightly, walking side by side. Vivian felt the strange duality gnawing at her. The thrill of being admired and desired, the terror of losing herself completely. Every glance, every smile, every gentle touch of Ethan's hand sent shockwaves of emotion through her. By the time they parted, Vivian's cheeks were flushed, her heart racing. She felt exposed, vulnerable, alive. Vincent flickered faintly in her mind, whispering protest she couldn't heed. Vivian's reflection in the fountain's rippling water stared back. Soft, delicate, undeniably real. Sarah's voice broke through her reverie. "Tomorrow," she said, low and triumphant, "we escalate again. Public places, more attention, more exposure. And you'll feel the full power of being her, with the world watching." Vivian's chest tightened. Fear, shame, thrill, excitement, they were inseparable. She touched the reflection in the water one last time, tracing the delicate curves of her face. She was beautiful. She was seen. And she was becoming someone Vincent could no longer recognize. That night, Vivian lay awake, heart racing, cheeks burning from the day's attention. Ethan's smile, his words, the gentle connection, they haunted her. Vincent was fading. Vivian was rising. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet, trembling voice whispered, "Am I falling in love with her, or with myself?" The night air was sharp and crisp, carrying the distant hum of traffic and the faint chatter of evening crowds. Vivian's stomach twisted as Sarah led her down the bustling streets. This wasn't a casual outing. This was a test. A public challenge designed to strip away the last remnants of Vincent and cement Vivian's presence in the world. "This is more than exposure," Sarah whispered, her hand lightly pressing against Vivian's back. "This is a demonstration. Every eye on you matters. Every whisper, every glance, they shape her. And shape you." Vivian's legs trembled as they approached the plaza. Strings of lights twinkled overhead, illuminating the cafes, boutiques, and fountain in the center. People moved in groups, couples strolled, friends laughed. But every step Vivian took felt like walking onto a stage. Every glance seemed magnified. Sarah's grip tightened subtly. Head up. Chin out. Walk with her confidence. "You are not Vincent. You are Vivian." Vivian obeyed, though her heart raced with fear and anticipation. She felt every stare, every judgment, every whisper. Some were curious, some admiring, some blatantly scandalized. Heat flushed her cheeks and a shiver of thrill ran through her spine. A street performer paused mid-song, glancing at her. A group of teenagers nudged each other, whispering and pointing. Vivian felt herself shrinking and expanding all at once, shame and excitement colliding in a storm inside her chest. Sarah leaned close, voice soft but commanding. "Notice it. Let it sink in. Every reaction, every whisper, they are feeding her. And feeding you. This is power. And you will learn to wield it." A man approached casually as if by accident. "Excuse me," he said, tone light, "but you're really pretty. Like stunning." Vivian froze. Her pulse thudded painfully. Shame, embarrassment, and a forbidden thrill coursed through her. She wanted to flee, to cover her face, to cry out. And yet she felt drawn to the attention, a strange, intoxicating warmth spreading through her. Sarah's hand slid over her arm. "Do not retreat," she whispered. "Stand tall. Smile. Own her." Vivian forced herself to smile, delicate and trembling, feeling the world's gaze wash over her. Each compliment, each stare, each whispered comment chipped further away at Vincent, cementing Vivian's place in the public eye. She was exposed, fragile, beautiful, and undeniably real. They passed a group of old classmates who paused mid-conversation, their expressions a mixture of disbelief, curiosity, and admiration. Vivian felt her chest tighten, cheeks burning, and yet a part of her, thrilled, alive, exhilarated, leaned into the attention, letting it define her, reshape her, claim her. Sarah's voice was a low, guiding presence. "See? The world notices her. And soon you will crave that attention. Every stare, every whisper, every compliment. This is your new life. And she is yours to embody fully. By the time they returned home, Vivian's body was exhausted, trembling from the adrenaline, embarrassment, and exhilaration. Every glance, every reaction, every moment in the public eye had cemented her transformation further. Vincent was slipping entirely. Vivian was emerging fully, delicate and visible, fragile and intoxicating. Sarah's gaze softened slightly, triumphant. "Tomorrow," she said, "we escalate again. More attention, more scrutiny, and you will face the consequences of being fully seen." Vivian's chest tightened. Fear, humiliation, thrill, and desire collided violently. She touched her reflection in the window as they passed. The girl staring back was alive, exposed, beautiful, and undeniably her. That night, Vivian lay awake, heart racing. Every glance, every compliment, every whisper of the evening haunted her. Vincent was gone. Vivian had stepped fully into the world, and tomorrow there would be no retreat. She wondered with a shiver, can I handle being completely her, or am I already lost? Vivian's reflection in the mirror no longer felt like a stranger. It was her. Fragile, trembling, beautiful, and terrifyingly real. Every day, every glance, every compliment, every whispered reaction had chipped away at Vincent, until the boy who had once lived quietly inside her was almost gone. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands pressed against her face, trying to steady her shaking. Tears slid down her cheeks and her chest tightened painfully. She had laughed today, smiled, even flirted, and yet every moment had felt like a betrayal of the person she had once been. Sarah entered silently, her presence calm but commanding. "You're thinking about him," she said softly. "The old self, Vincent. And you're afraid you've lost him." Vivian choked back a sob. I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "I'm to her. But I'm not. I'm not sure if I want to be." Sarah knelt beside her, tilting her chin up with gentle precision. "You've reached the breaking point," she murmured. "The moment when the old self fights and the new self demands recognition. This is inevitable. And it's beautiful." Vivian's hands trembled as she touched her reflection. The girl in the mirror stared back, wide-eyed, vulnerable, undeniably feminine. She felt both exposed and alive, and the contradiction tore her apart. Part of her longed for Vincent, the familiar safety, the invisible life. Another part, terrified and exhilarated, embraced Vivian, craving recognition, attention, and beauty. Sarah's hand brushed over hers, firm, guiding. "You will learn eventually that being fully seen, fully herself, is worth the fear. That the attention, the admiration, the desire, it's real. And it's yours to command." Vivian's breath came in ragged gasps. She had spent hours walking, talking, smiling, being adored and scrutinized. Each compliment had pierced her like a needle, stitching the girl inside more tightly around her. She felt the faint stirrings of a new identity taking root, powerful, delicate, and terrifyingly permanent. Suddenly the doorbell rang. A visitor? Vivian's heart skipped. Sarah's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Go," she whispered. "Face her world." Vivian walked slowly to the door. On the threshold stood a young man. Someone from her past, someone who had known Vincent intimately. Recognition flared in his eyes and a gasp escaped his lips. "Vincent?" he whispered, disbelief and fascination mingling in his voice. Vivian froze. Panic, shame, fear, and exhilaration collided. She realized she could no longer deny herself. He was Vivian. Vincent was fading. And the world, every person, every gaze, every whisper had confirmed it. Her hands shook. "Vivian," she said softly, voice trembling. The young man's eyes widened, taking in every detail. And for the first time she fully saw herself. Not Vincent hiding behind her new self, but Vivian, alive, delicate, and undeniably real. Sarah's whisper echoed in her ear, calm, triumphant. The breaking point is where she becomes real. And you have crossed it. Vivian collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming, heart hammering, mind spinning. She had lost Vincent entirely, or so it felt. She had embraced attention, beauty, and admiration, but at the cost of her old self. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet, trembling voice asked the question she dared not answer. Do I even want to go back? That night, Vivian stared at the ceiling, trembling. The reflection in her mind was clear. Vincent was gone and Vivian had emerged fully. She had survived exposure, humiliation, attention, and desire. But the cost was high. And tomorrow Sarah would push her further. Into a world where she would be seen completely. And deep inside, a terrifying thought whispered, I may never be Vincent again, and maybe I don't want to be. Vivian stood at the threshold of the grand hall, the city lights glittering behind her like a cascade of stars. Tonight was the culmination of everything. The public exposure, the whispers, the attention, the relentless guidance of Sarah. Every step, every glance, every interaction had led her here. She felt the familiar pull of panic, the last traces of Vincent fighting to reclaim her. Part of her wanted to run, rip away the makeup, discard the wig, shed the skirts, and reclaim the invisible life she had once known. Another part, fragile, trembling, alive, wanted to step forward fully, embrace the attention, the recognition, the undeniable femininity she now embodied. Sarah's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, grounding her. Tonight, she said softly, voice low and commanding, you face the world as her. No hiding, no pretending. You are Vivian. And the choice is yours. Fight for Vincent, or embrace her completely. Vivian's heart thundered. She thought of the mirrors, the mall, the salon, the plaza, Ethan's smile, the whispers of strangers, the recognition from her past. Each memory, each experience had chipped away at Vincent, stitching Vivian more firmly in place. Her reflection shimmered in a nearby glass panel. She studied the delicate arch of brows, the soft curve of lips, the gentle sway of shoulders. Vincent was gone, or so it felt. The boy who had once lived quietly, unseen, was now a fading shadow. Vivian was alive, visible, intoxicating. Sarah leaned close, voice a whisper of silk and steel. Do you feel it? The power, the thrill, the beauty? This is her life. And she is real. And you can claim it fully, or let it slip away. Vivian's chest tightened. Her mind raced. The fear of losing Vincent forever clawed at her. The thrill of being seen, being desired, being admired pulsed like fire through her veins. She thought of Ethan, of strangers' whispers, of every moment she had been called beautiful. She realized with a shiver that she wanted it. She took a trembling breath. I am Vivian, she whispered, voice soft but firm, rising into clarity. Vincent is gone, and I am ready to be her. Sarah smiled, triumphant and gentle. Then step forward. The world is waiting. Vivian walked into the grand hall, every eye turning toward her. Whispers of admiration, surprise, and fascination rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed, smiles lingered, strangers leaned in. And in that moment she felt fully alive, fully exposed, fully herself. Her heart swelled with a strange, intoxicating thrill. She was beautiful, fragile, powerful, and visible. Vincent's whispers had faded entirely, replaced by the undeniable presence of Vivian. Every glance, every compliment, every sigh of admiration cemented her identity. She was no longer hiding. She was living. Sarah's hand brushed her arm lightly, pride and control mingled in her touch. Welcome to her life, she whispered. You are hers now. And the world will see her. Vivian's chest rose and fell, a tremor of emotion shaking her. Fear, exhilaration, shame, thrill, they were all there, tangled together, inseparable. But she was alive. She was seen. He was real. And deep inside, a quiet voice, soft, delicate, alive, whispered, I am Vivian. And I am finally free. The hall erupted in applause, flashes of cameras, and whispers of awe. Vivian's reflection shimmered in the glass panels, delicate and perfect. He smiled, fragile, trembling, powerful. She had survived every test, every humiliation, every challenge. She had shed Vincent completely. And in that moment she knew, this was her life now. Vincent was gone. Vivian was alive. She had faced exposure, desire, humiliation, and attention, and emerged fully. Beautiful, delicate, intoxicating, and undeniable, she stepped into her new life. The world had seen her. And she had embraced it fully.